Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fascinating episode of Kati Kati Show. You know that Kati Kati Show is where we get to discuss real life issues, real situations, and here is where we put the issue kwa meza, Kati Kati. And I am your host, Eltezi Mr. Riemebe, and seated, normally he's seated right next to me, but today he's seated at the far right. Is the one and only
Sir Georges Ole Mukinis.
Ole Mukinis, Sir Georges Ole Mukinis himself. Hajatumana. Leo ungetumana angalau. Ungetumana na mtu mwingine tuseme huyu ni nusu minusu wa Sir Georges, lakini umekuja ukiwa mzima.
Mzima.
Hakuna mchezo.
Tete we want to talk.
Leo we want to talk. Discuss. Leo lazima leo unajua leo Mungu ametubariki kwa sababu leo katikati. Kuna kitu. Kuna mtu. Ladies and gentlemen. Kuna mungwana. Iko mungwana hapa katikati yetu, na tawaambia jina zake kabla tuendelee na show ndo tuingie katika mada yetu siku ya leo.
And this mungwana is none other than George Ochieng the Crane himself, here to disseminate and dispense wisdom about important issues.
Sir Georges. Umesikia kabla usikie kizungu, umesikia jina ya pili?
Ochieng.
Yes.
Ochieng from the lake.
Yes. So ukasikia to disseminate.
The only problem I have with Ochieng.
Yes.
Anapenda omena sana.
Anapenda omena.
Let me tell you.
Anapenda kukula watoto.
Watoto samaki.
Let me tell you something. Omena has a lot of calcium and iron. And omena does a lot of brain development.
My problem is
yes.
Omena ni watoto. Unakula samaki kana kuangalia ni katoto na hata una huruma wewe.
Na watoto ndio watamu.
Ni Kirena amekwambia kitu moja. Kirena anakuambia it is time to disseminate. Disseminate the information.
Yes.
That is going on. Alafu anakuambia that omena iko na a lot of nutrients for the brain. Anakuambia ukikula ndio kwa maana mnatoa kina Obama.
Yes.
Na kina Raila Odinga.
Exactly.
Yes.
Baba.
Akina Larry Madu.
Sasa si unajua.
Kuna wakati kulikuwa
Orengo.
great men in the world.
Yes.
Obama, Osama.
Unatoka Sir Georges. Osama si wao bana. Hapo Osama pia ni wewe.
Osama sio wewe.
I'm bleach.
Osama sio wewe.
Anybody starting with from the lake.
Yes.
Obama, Osama, Oginga.
But I think mama yake alitembea Nyanza kidogo.
Baba Osama.
Yes.
Hata kuna mchezaji wa Manchester United anaitwa Onana.
Yes.
Onana pia ni mjaluo.
Yote.
Onana's mother was dating my grandfather.
Wait. Now, pale tumefikia itabidi sasa na tuachie hapo. Ikifika position tena,
yes.
Alikuwa na date your grandmother.
Yes.
Hapo sasa wewe uongo. Sio Sir Georges.
Sio uongo. Anasema.
Inaweza kuwa kweli?
Amesema.
Uongo. Yes, kubali. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. This is Kati Kati, and today we have a very good topic that tunaiweka hapa katikati, and then we're going to, to disseminate.
Yes.
There's a clip that I watched, and it was shown to me by none other than Sir Georges, and this was Pastor Ezekiel. Sir Georges, your clip ulinionyesha. Pastor Ezekiel was speaking about how he has instructed his own family that no one is going to eat. What are they to eat? Kukula. Hakuna mtu atakula pesa ya kanisa. And he's saying on that clip that he does not eat the money of the church. We start with Sir Georges. Sir Georges, wapi ukweli hapo? Wapi uongo? Chagua moja.
Sometimes we go too far.
Yes.
And we want to be angels. We want to be, to eventually we end up lying. Because there is no way, when you are a pastor, you say, I don't spend the money of the church. Because you are actually entitled. You are entitled to spending something from the church. Your salary is supposed to be paid by the church. For example, there is no way the president can say that I don't get anything from the state. Because the salary itself is a resource of a state. Traveling is the resource of the state. So is that by saying all the clothes that I wear are bought by the church. They have the receipts of the church. Then he says, I have instructed my family to start rearing chicken, and nobody should ever spend the money from the church. So it's not true.
The crane.
Yes.
It's not true.
The crane.
Yes.
Hebu tupe mtazamo wako.
Let me say this. First of all, allow me to say that apart from Ezekiel being a pastor, he is a family man. He is a family man that has the responsibility of taking care of his family and bringing up his family in a way that he wants. When Ezekiel says that he does not want any of his family members to use or benefit from the church, he means that he does not want his children or any family member to be lazy. You get that? So that when his son or daughter looks at him and sees a church, sees the population, the congregation, the child should not look at that congregation in terms of the sadaka they're going to give. So that becomes the purpose for the children to be lazy. He says that you will not benefit from the church money because you have to also look for your own money. So that means that apart from being a pastor that earns salary, there is nothing else beyond the salary that should benefit his family. You get that?
Yes.
And that is why I really support what Ezekiel is saying. His expenditure is confined within the salary and not anything else. The rest of the money is for the church. And that is what he says.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard what the crane has said. And for me, El Tezi hapa, I am going along with Sir Georges. Sir Georges, ukweli, ama uongo, kwangu, kile kitu Ezekiel anasema ni uongo mtupu. Total lie. In fact, I feel like he's almost trying to fool us. Sisi hapa naangalia ni kama kidogo bwana crane.
In fact, you may not be able to separate the church from the pastor.
Yes.
This is a ministry registered by him, controlled by him. You know.
Yes.
I was seeing the schools he has.
Yes.
He has a very good school.
Yes.
An international school. True.
Private.
True.
Very true.
Now, I don't understand why you should have an international school when you are raising money. The money that is being constructing that school is the 20 bob, 30 bob, 50 bob from the congregants.
Yes.
Then you are doing an international school that is charging 500,000 per child. It means your members can never and shall never educate their kids from that school.
Yes.
So I would want somebody to explain to me
Yes.
why you are raising money from the community and none of the community members, the church members, can never educate their kids in that school. However,
yes,
what I was trying to say is the children of Pastor Ezekiel
yes,
have a right to be supported by the church.
Yes.
Because that is where their father works.
Yes.
Jesus said when you're plowing with a bull,
yes,
don't muzzle its mouth. Don't put a cover on its mouth. Let
yes,
it see the meat that it plows.
Yes.
Because that is where it is working. So there is no way you will tell me that you want to be a full-time minister and the church is not supporting you.
Yes.
So, for example, if the children of Pastor Ezekiel want to be pastors, are they going to start their own ministries? They should be members. They are members of the same church.
Yes.
They are working in the same ministry, so they are supposed to earn their living from the same ministry.
Yes.
So don't tell us a lie that I am not getting anything from the church. So why are you in that church? If, for example, even the other day I was saying, when I work in a church and I clean the church, I ought to be paid.
Yes.
I want to get something from that church.
Yes.
There is no free labor. So Ezekiel should be able to be paid millions of money as a pastor.
Yes.
Yes, the only problem that I am having in the church is the structures that are missing. They have no structures. So that we know that a pastor is supposed to be earning every month 10 million. There is no problem with that. The president of Kenya earns quite a big salary, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
So is there any problem with that? So Pastor Ezekiel should tell us, I earn 2 million per month. There is no problem.
Yes.
Don't live a lie. Don't lie to us.
Let me say this. Let me respond to what you're saying. First of all, I want to dismiss the point that will say that every child has a right to be supported by where the father works. That is very wrong. No child has a right to be supported by the employer of his father or mother. Ezekiel himself did not find the church that is running now from his father.
That's not what I said. I have said the children of Pastor Ezekiel
Yes.
have a right, if they receive a call, to work in the same ministry with their father, and they deserve a pay. That's what I said.
They do not have a right.
They have a right. If they receive a call,
Yes.
they have a right.
Yes.
Just like me, I have a right to work in that ministry. If I receive a call within that ministry, everybody, is kids inclusive, have a right to work in that ministry, to be part and parcel of the pastoral
I think
team.
what Mr. Crania is, adamantly refusing is the word right.
Yes. What I'm saying is this, Sir Judges. Ezekiel is trying to provide a platform for his children so that the children are able to find their own ways. That they do not have to look at what the father is doing. They do not have to rely on what their father is doing, because that is another way of nurturing laziness in children. What he's trying to do, he's trying to tell them that in as much as I'm doing this,
Yes.
please do not play possum. Do not just be there just because you see your father has a big church, because your father has a big school. You see that? What he's trying to tell them, you will not by any chance benefit from the church. All you need to do is to get education, find a way of getting your own job, make your own life. If he does say to them that whatever I am doing here is because of you and you will benefit from everything, the children will just sit down and watch their father mint money for them.
No, you see, in the Bible, the Levites was a community, was a tribe that was devoted to service of God. Now, there is a very high likelihood that when you are a pastor, your children will aspire to be pastors, as long as you're showing them the right. You are living your word.
Yes.
You're living. If you are a sincere person, committed to the things of God, your children are going to imitate you, because they imitate us as we imitate Christ. So the likelihood that from a pastoral community, family, we may find a lot of pastors coming from that family. It's the same case with a pilot. You find pilots come from the same community, the same family. Most doctors come from the same family also.
Yes.
If your father was a doctor, you aspire to be a doctor. So what I'm saying is, his children have also a right. They have a right. In other words, you cannot hinder them from being pastors. So you cannot say, my family shall never. Even your salary, because when you earn your salary, you're supporting your family. Is it not the church that is supporting your family? So you cannot wake up one morning and say, my family shall never be, It's a lie.
It's a total lie.
It's a lie.
Especially me.
Yes.
What I've come to learn about most churches in Kenya, they seem to be like private family business. Yes. Look at most churches. They are either from the father. They are if the father passes away, the wife takes over. If the wife is not there, then the children take over. Protecting the one, watasema kwamba we are protecting the legacy of the father, which are the legacy at most times, the pesa, because you cannot protect the legacy without money. So I feel like Pastor Ezekiel is trying to, I respect the man of God, I respect the man of cloth, but this time here, I feel like unajua Ruto alisema Kenya imeisha wajinga. No, I feel like amebakia. Ama kuna mmoja amebakia na tujue.
Let me say this, my brother Entezi. It is important to also note that there were some rules that were given by God to Solomon on where to marry from and where not to marry from.
Yes.
God knew that if my temple is associated with particular people, then there is a likelihood of the faith of that temple being derailed. Now, coming back to the church, it is true that churches have doctrines that run those churches.
Yes.
And those are the cornerstones of every church. The person that understands the doctrines of a church is the pastor. The pastor, in most cases, passes that knowledge to the kinsmen,
Yes.
more closely to the nuclear family. Now, for the doctrines of the church to keep standing, one of the things that need to be done is to make sure that a pastor brings up somebody, in particular, the wife or the children, to take over from them, and especially when they pass on. Now, that is why you find that when a pastor...
You mean a church is supposed to be like a kingdom?
No, I'm not saying that, but there is a sanctity that has to be kept. I said that the nuclear family of the pastor understands better, in as much as it may not be able to understand so much, but it does understand better than anybody else, because they are close to the pastor. The pastor knows, tells them how this and that should be done. Just like when you have a farm, who understands your farm well is your child and your wife.
Yes.
Now, when you pass on, the person that should take over so that that church continues is either the child or the wife, and that church will stand. If you leave it,
that is where we get it wrong.
Yeah.
We get it wrong because the church is not an individual. It's not a family affair.
Yes.
It's God affair.
yes,
And it's God who gives calls to people. So that now what is happening, especially in Kenya, most of the churches are actually becoming cults, because the pastor is honored like almost to the level of God, because he's the one carrying everything. Now, and I always say, if you have to be in authority, you must be under authority. So that the pastor now has nobody taking care of him. He has nobody to control him. And that's where presbyters come in, the elders, the church elders. And that is what is lacking in churches like the one being run by Ezekiel, is the one-man show. So we need to have elders who are controlling the pastor, so that the pastor is controlled. Right now, we are hearing, after somebody dies, that pastor raped me, that pastor did this to me, that pastor did this to me, because they have no authority. They are operating in their own world. They are gods.
Yes.
Yes.
And on that note, I would
There
love...
is no way a son can control a father. The other day we were talking about the curses.
Yes.
A father has authority over his son. So how can, or even your wife is subject to you. You are the big boss. So you need guys who can tell you this direction is not the right way you're going. You start international schools and they tell you this money belongs to us. So we need to take our children to that international school.
And on that note again,
yes,
just to add on what Sir Georges is saying, let us look at the Roman Catholic Church. What we know is the Catholic Church. Who we know is the Pope. Lakini kuangalia kanisa ya Kenya, hata watu wengine hawajui jina ya kanisa ya Pastor Ezekiel. Unajua tu Pastor. Unajua jina ya kanisa ya Pastor Gaga. Unajua jina ya kanisa ya Pastor Gaga. Unajua tu Pastor Gaga. It's about him, Yeye ndio celeb. Na spirit kwanza kama Pastor Gaga anashinda pale TikTok kuhakikisha kwamba yeye is bigger than the church. So that is a problem. Pale Pope sasa ukiuliza what is the name of the Pope, you don't know. But you know that there is a Pope.
There is a Pope.
There is a pastor and there is a Catholic church. But in Kenya, unajua tu mimi hata sijui kiuna hata Lai, sijui kanisa yake inaitwa aje. Najua tu Lai is one of the richest pastors in Kenya. So now the reality of the churches.
Yes.
Where are we? Hebu tuangalie kidogo. What is the reality of the churches?
I would say
Are they private businesses? What's happening?
Ezekiel went before Parliament.
Yes.
He went there. He never spoke the truth.
Yes.
He never spoke the truth. He should have said, "I am the minister here. And these are the protocols of the church. People should know what protocols you have, what systems you have. Saying that in our church, I am the beginning and the end. I am the Alpha and the Omega in my ministry.
Yes.
There is no problem with that. Don't go to lie. That was a big lie. Listen to that. He lied all through.
Tena lena peke yake.
Because he's the big boss. There is no elders. If they were elders, you would have gone with elders.
Yes.
The elders are supporting him. Now you go with a lawyer. A lawyer does not even know anything about the church. You carry the biggest lawyer in town. Lawyer has no. The elders are supposed to be your pillars. You know, he's supposed to be supporting you. You understand what I'm
Yes.
trying to say?
Yes. Let me say this about pastors sometimes being looked at as the sole celebrities of the church. Now, the church is always run by the divine ordination that comes from God. Okay? Now, when for somebody to run a church, that person must have received the blessings, and that is what, in other words, we call a call. Mm-hmm. And that call comes with the divine ordination.
But what is a church? Let's first
now,
you need to define.
Yes, I know the church.
What is a church?
The church.
If here 2 or 3 gathers.
Yes.
But here we are finding one man
gathering.
Yeah. But now.
How big a gathering?
There is no gathering.
But now Ezekiel is a person that has been ordained by God himself. And that is why he has been given the responsibility of acting on behalf of the entire church. So, and that is where that you see when something happens in the church, something bad happens in the church that raises eyebrows. The government looks right at the eyes of Ezekiel himself and nobody else. Why? Because Ezekiel is the only person that has received a call. And that is the reason why he has the mandate to exercise his divine authority.
Yes.
To exercise his divine responsibility,
yes.
Giving direction to the rest of the people.
Yes.
Coming back to without forgetting,
yes.
You talked about the school. Ezekiel was very clear, and he said that my school has supported so many students. In as much as the school fees is expensive, we have so many orphans that have been supported by the same school who go to that school for free. Mm-hmm. And the reason why church exists is because the church wants to support the less fortunate. We cannot help everyone. Ezekiel's school may not be able to accommodate every orphan or every needy case. But he has tried as much as he can to make sure that those within his disposal receive education through his support. And I think that is something that we need to really appreciate.
You see, I don't understand. I don't understand why you use 20 bob, 30 bob, 40 bob, raised from the congregation to build an international school. Then you're bringing in international kids who are from Karen. You know, it's not Karen, it's not Runda, it's not Mudaiga that has contracted that school. It's Mukuru Kwajenga, because those are the majority in the church. It is Kibra, those are the majority in the church. Why do you construct a school with their money and then none of their students attend that school? So what you are doing is you are charging, you come and claim you're charging 500,000 so that kids from Mudaiga can come and study in that school. And then you are able to get some money and sponsor kids in Mukuru Kwajenga schools. You understand? Is it making sense?
To me, I find that it makes absolute no sense because in the first place,
yes.
Wewe kama Ezekiel, also, umechukua pesa ya congregation, umejenga shule. Unasema kwamba katika that congregation, you are supporting orphans and supporting the less fortunate. Ni sawa. Ambao maybe kwa hiyo congregation yako ni percentage kidogo. Unaona? Lakini wale wengine ambao pia wanachangia hawasaidii
Hawawezi.
maisha yao iwe wanaweza kusoma katika shule hiyo.
They cannot afford
Then who is there? Is the church only for the less fortunate? Na wale ambao just where is the middle class? Where's the middle class?
The other day I was telling you, when a pastor wants to buy a car, you come and say, mobilize the whole community.
Yes.
So that they can raise the money to buy the car. But when you go to him and tell him, I want to buy a car, he tells you, kneel down, we pray for you. There is a disconnect somewhere.
Wewe unapita shule, unaingia kanisani, ukiingia kanisani unaona shule tu, unatamani. Not because you cannot,
Constructed by?
Your own money.
By?
Your own money.
And then he's saying, actually, the money, he's not even spending that money.
Yes.
He's not spending that money himself.
Yes.
So where is the money going?
Yes.
Going to construct the school. So after they construct the school,
Yes.
international kids come.
Yes.
Kids from Tanzania,
Yes.
Uganda.
Alafu anaenda pale tu katika ile shamba shamba ambalo inasemekana into counts that imetengenezwa na pesa ya wananchi, anachukua portion kanisa congregants anasema kwamba lile shamba a portion of that shamba atatengeneza nini ya kuku bali ya kutengenezea kuku, aende ile pesa wanai bado tu ya congregants anunue kuku
which is okay.
Vifaranga.
What I'm saying is,
alafu aseme hiyo ni personal business.
Confusing.
Hiyo ni personal business sasa ya kuku. Hata hiyo biashara ya kuku ambaye anafungua bado ni kanisa. Acha. Hiyo pia kuku ni kanisa tu anafungua na.
So I think
Kwani ametoa pick up
where we are going wrong is that we are not able to understand as a pastor. Me, if I became a pastor, I will spend the money from the church to educate my kids because I am a full-time minister in that
Yes.
church. I will buy myself a car with the same money. Accept that. That is what you have done.
Yes.
Why are you going round?
Yes. No wacha kwenda kuombea kuku. Ukuje tuombee sisi.
Let me
Anataka kwenda power kuku.
Let me say this.
Kudumiwa. Waambia rudi kwa kwetu bwana.
Let me say this, brother.
Kazi ya kuku achie Ruto.
Now, let me say this. First of all, I want to really commend Pastor Ezekiel for setting a good pace and example for other churches. Because we've seen so many churches worship in dilapidated structures while people are paying sadaka to develop the church.
Yes.
We've seen Ezekiel trying to give education to children that are disadvantaged and are not able to go to school because of lack of school fees.
Like who? You have?
We have seen also Pastor Ezekiel trying to show other pastors that you don't have to consume people's money, people who are languishing in abject poverty, while there is nothing they can see you do with that money for them. Now, if you look at the congregants of Pastor Ezekiel, there are people who can now be very proud. They can look at the church and say, now we have a very good church. Unlike other churches, which names I will not mention, in structures that are really so bad. And it is a message to many other pastors out there who are there to gobble people's money after paying sadaka. They need to learn from Ezekiel.
Yes.
And know that sadaka, however little it is, the 20 shilling that people disdain can do a lot if well taken care of. Pastor Ezekiel has shown a good example, and the whole world has seen that with the little cash, he has built schools, he has built good churches, he has done so many wonderful things. And that is a good lesson for other pastors.
First of all, Sir Georges, before you even get in, this man here at the crane, please, ukiwa katikati,
yes,
do not lie to the public. How do you call money that has built a monstrous of a school little? Which little money? Huyo jamaa amekusanya pesa mingi sana. Big money.
The question is, you see, another thing we need to understand also, we are supposed also to be asking ourselves, where did Pastor Ezekiel come from? And how was he able to build that big church?
Yes.
Because it's like 10 acres of a church. you know, it began by constructing. It did not begin by bringing in members. It began by constructing. So we should also be asking ourselves, where does he get that money from?
Yes.
To do the big school. It may not, you know, sometimes you look at things and you don't question this, the buying,
The source.
yes, the source of the money. Is it tithe? Is it offering? Where is the money come from?
Na pia George nafaa
Could
ukumbuke.
they, you know, some of these big boys these days can do anything for money. Could they be drug barons, for example? Could we be having a problem in maybe the kids that we are seeing getting? I mean, the drugs that guys are consuming at the coast could be they are coming from such people. You never know. There is another documentary I saw the other day.
Yes.
Concerning some pastors in Africa.
Yes.
Of course, the African people are up in arms.
Yes.
But at the same time, we need to understand, are we really doing the right thing? You know, are these guys getting money from the church? Or they are doing other businesses?
I think it's a good question.
Are they cleaning their money through the church?
It's a good question. I think we're gonna get there. We're gonna it's a very good question. Lakini vitengo vya ujasusi vinafaa viangalie zaidi.
Yes.
But what was I telling Bwana Crane hapa is that anafaa akumbuke vizuri kwamba siku hizi mbao kwa kanisa si sadaka. Unafaa ukumbuke hivyo kwamba. Kwa hivyo huyu jamaa ni mtu ambaye ameweza kushawishi watu. Kama ukisikia ile kesi ya Shakahola. Anashawishi watu watoe pesa mingi. People are selling their properties. People are doing a lot of things just to be able to get this blessing. Waweze kuendelea katika maisha. Now, if you're taking that amount of money from the congregants, at least when you build a facility, usiwanyang'anye pia, usiwanyanyase pia. You know, if you're building a school, you're building whatever, a hotel, please remember kuna mtu ambaye alitoa fungu la 10. Alitoa pesa mzuri. Kuna watu, mimi nimeona mtu amepata inaitwa aje, boom ya kumaliza kazi, retirement money, na akatoka kenda paka kanisa na akapatiana almost half of ile boom, and we are talking in 40 millions. Wewe unafikiria hizi
you see like
kwanza kwa nganga bao utoi hata 500
you see this is not an old church.
Yes.
It's not an old church.
Yes.
It's a recent church. Now, look, for example, we are talking of the property as bought here in Kitengela.
Yes.
I'm just, you know, I like challenging my head because I have a head, I think.
Yes.
The property bought in Kitengela the other day was worthy over 350 million.
Yes.
Where it was because he bought it at 7 million per acre.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
In fact, the value for that place is 3 million. But he bought it for 7 million per acre. And there are 50 acres. That is 350 million. Could it be coming from the congregation, for example?
Yes.
No, you cannot say yes because you are not Pastor Ezekiel. I think we need to bring in Kati Kati Aeleze because you understand?
Yes.
So we need to understand, to try asking ourselves, where is this money coming from? Where is it coming from? We need to start questioning things because we may end up having another Shakahola stuff
If we don't
question
Yes.
some things. Because these guys are authority, there is nobody asking. They are only left Kati Kati to inquire, to question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We are the questioners and the answerers.
Yes. Na tunaona kwa Bwana Crane hapa is a very good ambassador of the church of Pastor Ezekiel. Bwana Crane.
Yes.
Bado sisi tunashikilia mtazamo wetu. Mimi nashikilia mtazamo wangu kwamba mchungaji anafaa ajue kwamba sisi kama Wakenya tunajua anakula pesa ya kanisa na inakubalika akule pesa ya kanisa kwa sababu even the Bible clearly states, right?
Yes.
Watakula kwa altar, kwa madhabahu.
Yes.
Na wakati mimi napeleka fungu langu la 10
ni lake
atakula. Basi I don't think that he should come out and start telling us how watoto wake watakula hapo. We know that is like insulting our intelligence.
Na kama hawatakula hapo, wamekuwa wakikula hapo.
I think...
you understand?
Yes, I understand you. I think the concept that Pastor Ezekiel was trying to put across was the concept of accountability. When he says, even my smallest cloth is under the church, that is just trying to demystify the nitty-gritty of what accountability entails. He says that I do not want this and this and this to happen, because this is something that does not belong to me, but it belongs to the congregation. Now, when he says that, he does not necessarily mean that he may not be able to get his salary. His salary he is entitled to.
Tell me.
But there are other things that
Before you continue,
go beyond salary that he does
before
not
you
want.
continue,
Yes.
is there a difference between him and the church? There isn't, isn't it?
No, there is. I
There
can say
isn't.
there is.
Which is the difference? Where is the difference?
The difference is the church is made up of the pastor and the congregants. But now Ezekiel, as a person, is the vessel that God is using to pass the information. You see, Ezekiel is a vessel being used to pass the information to the church, including himself, the children, and the congregants. But now Ezekiel, who is now the vessel being used.
Ezekiel is
So if you separate Ezekiel from the church...
Yes, he's the vessel.
Yes.
He's a signatory to the account.
Yeah.
Is the sole owner of the ministry. Is the, you understand what I'm trying to say?
So I'm getting the word soul. Yes,
isn't it? So you cannot separate Ezekiel from the church. Ezekiel and the church is the same thing. So I'm still standing on the ground that it's not right for him to come and say, this clothes belong to the church. He also belongs to the church. You understand?
Yes.
So once he buys even the smallest cloth, can he give it to another person to wear? You understand?
Yeah.
So he himself and the church is the same thing. So he cannot come and say, I don't spend money, I don't benefit from the church. Benefits would mean what? He's working in the church, so he's supposed to earn, he's living in the church. In fact, he's not supposed even to do the chicken work, because he will divide his loyalty between the chicken and him and the church.
Yes.
So he's the owner of the ministry. He is the ministry himself. Asitudanganye.
Akuwe mkweli kama Pastor Nganga.
Yes.
Nganga anasemanga tu kweli.
Let me tell you, in this country, the mtu mutru ni Pastor Nganga. Because hata yeye anasemanga mimi si pastor na mimi si bishop. Niite kitu ingine.
Yes.
So you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Be sincere. So when we are dealing with him, we know he's not a pastor. We deal with him like a colleague.
And that's why,
yes,
when there was issues arising from what is going on,
yes,
pale kwa inaitwaje hiyo mali, kuna jina wanaita eneo lake
Kilifi, yuko Kilifi,
Masafi, sijui inaitwa nini, Mavueni kitu gani hiyo eneo yake. Wakati kulikuwa na challenges there, we saw the senators go after Ezekiel. You know, right now if there is an issue with the Catholic Church, they will go after the establishment. But in Kenya, when there's an issue with the church, the serikali goes from the individuals, because the government inajua serikali ambayo kwamba hizi kanisa, they are owned by individuals. Unaona? And that actually is becoming the problem, because you find some big churches, they are elderly people ambao ni wazee wa kanisa, ambao hata ni mapasta. Pastor huyu mkubwa wa kanisa, mwenye kanisa, kijana wake anapokuwa mkubwa, unapata yule pastor anaambia wale wengine, endeni mfungue kanisani huko, endeni mfungue kanisani huko, endeni mfungue. Lakini hii main center, kijana wake ndiye anakuja anachukua.
You see, the problem we are having with Africa has a problem, yes, in the ministry, because most of the ministries are owned by the pastors. And the moment they die, the ministry dies. TB Joshua, for example, was a huge mega church. Where is it now? Gone. Because the guy died. He had no authority over him. He had no authority below him. Nobody to, there were no else. We never used to know anybody else. TB Joshua. Now that he's being attacked by the media, there is nobody to support him. There's nobody to explain to us why things happened the way they happened. So we have a problem, and the problem can only be sorted out if we stand up and shout and tell them, call them out, tell them you're doing the wrong thing. Because human beings are not animals. They are not guinea foods. They are not. Human beings are human beings and ought to be treated with dignity. You cannot take 20 bob, 30 bob, do a church. And when we are seeing you on the billboards, we don't see any Christ in it. We see you lying on the chest of your wife. We see your wife lying on your chest. Nothing else. It's all about pastor, pastor, pastor. I don't think this is where we need to go. Look, for example, the mainstream church.
Yes.
When you look at PCA church, their logo is a cross, isn't it?
Yes.
When you look at the Methodist, you find their logo. The logo for most of these churches is the man of God lying on the chest of the wife. Those are the logos.
The wife, Sir Georges, you're lying.
The life is like this, and the guy is lying on his chest. That is what.
That is a
Am
lie.
I lying?
Am
Am I lying?
I'm wondering why you are coming up with something that does not exist.
Yes, it's the man.
Now, from here,
Yes.
when we are living here, we will go all the way to the end of Kitengela.
Yes.
And we go taking photos of every ministry.
Yes.
You'll find is a pastor and a wife. Period.
But not lying, not the wife.
No,
close.
they lie on wanaekelea kichwa moja wamepigwa wameekelea kichwa. It's a fact.
You are
I'm not mad.
You are trying to make people think that the church is now embracing a lot of vulgarism on how it handles its things.
Yes. Wacha tumrudishe katikati.
Now,
sijui mbadilishane kiti.
Sir Georges.
No, what I'm saying is we have lost the taste. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. We are losing the taste. Jesus said, if the salt loses its taste, do you know these days it's no longer saying wait first.
Wait first, Sir Georges. Let me hold you up because Sir Georges is trying.
Yes.
And anajaribu kuwa mjanja katika show.
Yes.
What you have said, first of all, you should withdraw, right?
You should withdraw the statement
You should withdraw that statement.
pastors lying on the
Because that's
chests
what you have
of
said.
wives.
I will repeat it at night. I will repeat it during the day. I will repeat it in the morning, lunch hour, evening time. That the logos of most of these ministries is the wife and the husband.
That's not what you have said.
Lying on one another. That's the truth. That's the truth. I can't withdraw. That is it.
That term
When
lying
you
on
lose
one
each other,
another
that's
is
not
the
lying.
only term that needs to be withdrawn.
Yes.
When you look at the ministries, the mainstream churches,
Yes.
they have logos. We know when you see a Methodist logo, we know that is Methodist logo.
Yes.
When you see a PCA logo, is a PCA logo. When you see Deliverance, all the ministries, Deliverance is one of the oldest ministry in this country.
Yes.
Under Mark Kariuki, you go to his church today
Yes.
in Kangondo Road, is him and the wife.
But not lying
not
on
lying
each
on
other.
the
Not the logo.
Not lying on each other. That's what you're saying.
I'm
Say-
saying
Next to
saying.
each other.
Are you saying some or churches?
Next to each other. Not lying.
Let me tell you, I will not withdraw, and I will not withdraw until
Let
the
me kulaliana.
That is
Unasema
not
wanalalia.
right. That is not right. You cannot allege that logos of churches show pastors lying on the chests of their wives.
Wanalaliana.
That is wrong, and you should withdraw that.
let me withdraw and say
Yes.
it's a yes, so that we can continue. It's a pastor and the wife.
Yes.
Those are the logos of most of the ministries.
Yes.
The wife and the church. We don't have any identity for the ministries anymore.
Yeah.
It's about individuals. There is no Christ in that. There is no congregation in that. All what we have is the pastor and the wife. on every billboard on the road. Take it to the bank.
Great.
Yes.
Hebu nisaidie hapo.
I said that our pastors are ordained. Our pastors can pass the ordination to the generation. Our pastors have the ability to give over the mandate, the spiritual responsibility to the people they trust. And these people they trust are people they know can protect the doctrines of their particular churches. And when you see a pastor having that is if in case there are pastors that put the photos of them and their wives on the logos or on the pictures, then they're doing that because they trust their wives as the only people that know well the doctrines of their particular churches. And if at all something happens that they depart from the church, the only person that can take good care of the church and the congregants are the people next to them. And these people next to them are their wives and
Now,
their children.
Jesus Christ came. Jesus
Yes.
Christ, we are called Christians
Yes.
because we ought to behave like Jesus.
Yes.
Christians are Christ-like. Now, tell me, when Jesus came, he was here for 30 years.
Yes.
Yes.
He started his ministry at the age of 30.
Yes.
And what was his first ministry? To recruit disciples.
Yes.
How many of them?
12.
12 disciples. Now, the pastors want to have disciples in the name of their children, as you are alleging, in the name of their wife. Who told you your wife received a call? Now, the 12 disciples of Jesus eventually became the apostles. Now, Jesus always used to walk. The pillars of Jesus were his disciples. Any challenge that they would face, some guys would say, this guy is worshiping devil. You remember that? And the disciples were there saying, no, this is the Son of God.
Yes.
You know. So the pastors have no people to support them. And you know, every man has shortcomings. Every heart of man is deceitful. Whether a pastor, whoever it is, sometimes you need to be corrected.
Yes.
Anytime you try to correct a pastor, he says you are raising your finger against the anointed of God. And now that most of them are cultic, they don't want anybody near them. Actually, it's very hard to see them. When they come, you know why God does not show his face to us?
Yes.
Because if we see him 1, 2, 3 times, we'll get used to him.
Yes.
So pastors are behaving like God. They don't want you to see them. They are always locked. They don't walk in town. If they come to town, they come in a fleet of vehicles because they don't want any person, the public,
Yes.
to come close to them.
Yes.
There is a problem. I'm
Sir
telling you.
Georges, when it comes to the poster issue of the church,
Yes.
you know, there is what we call a family setup, and our wives are our helpers, right? And I tend to think that kuweka kwa ile poster, the husband and the wife, they just want to show that, you know, my wife is supportive of this. That's how family should look. Unaimagine kuona pastor akope wacha sasa unateta yeye na bibi yake. Imagine kuona tu pastor peke yake kwa poster. Pastor peke yake kwa poster.
Let me tell you something.
You know,
Let me tell you something.
kuna image.
The wife is not part of the calling, and that's where we are going wrong.
But
Wait first.
Pastor George,
Wait first.
Why
Wait
can
first.
you decide that the wife is not part of the calling?
Wait first. When God calls,
Yes.
when God calls,
He tells you.
look at the whole even in the Old Testament.
Yes.
A call is made to one person. It's never a group calling. It's not a group issue. You know, it's an individual. God calls an individual. He will never call a community. Never.
But you know what you're saying is okay. It's an individual. So
Yeah.
God can call me as an individual, sai, and after 2 minutes, akuite kama individual. But I also think the part of the wife comes in as the helper. Now she learns about the ministry. She becomes a disciple. Because they have, ni kama kuna story ya ilikuwa ni tonani. Kuna watu kwa Biblia.
No, there is a problem. We are creating cults.
Let me say this.
No, we are actually creating cults.
Yes.
Everything is around a pastor.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
The world does not rotate around an individual.
Yes.
The world does not rotate around a family. So you are not the sun.
Yes.
You are not the sun. The universe rotates, the earth rotates around the sun. You are not the sun.
Let me inform you, my brother, Sir Georges. First of all, I want you to remember that in many cases God was using people and at the same time using their wives. A case in point is Abraham.
Yes.
When God wanted to do something for the world to see his miracles and what he's capable of doing, he used Abraham and the wife in this manner. Abraham had a problem of not having children. Now, Abraham Sarah had to be used for God's miracles to be seen through Sarah. You get that? Now, my point is, a pastor may have been called by God as an individual, but God, the moment God has given you a wife, he says you people should live in one accord. And the moment you have started living as one, there are things that get induced into the wife that are God made. And that is when a pastor is given...
Start messing.
No, a pastor starts recruiting the wife into the world, into the kingdom of God.
No, let's go back to Sarah and Abraham.
Yes.
You know, the vision, the mission, and the calling of Abraham was put into tatters by Sarai. You know, because God told Sarah that Abraham, that I'm going to give you a son, and he's going to be your kids are going to be the sand of the sea. Yes. And Sarah, with this lack of vision, lack of calling, because God never called Sarah. Yes. What Sarah thought, that I cannot give birth. So it takes a maid and gives to Abraham. You remember that?
Yes, I remember.
And the problem we are having in Middle East today is caused by Sarah. Was caused by Sarah. So you don't bring, when you receive a call, your wife is not part of the calling. And that is where we are going wrong. So that now your wives now start coming in the church and fighting the members, fighting the vision. So your wife is not part of the calling unless you both of you are called together. So you incorporate, you're bringing in, you see, when Jesus, remember also, there is another example I'll give you. When Christ, when Judas made a mistake by betraying Jesus, the disciples thought we will have to have 12 disciples. You remember that?
Yes.
They brought in another one. Yeah. And they ordained them as a disciple of Jesus. But that was not part of the calling of God. That's why God himself now, Jesus himself brings in another disciple.
Yes.
Called who? Paul. So we have a problem in the ministry, and we have a problem in that a pastor receives a call when he's not married. When you marry, you want to incorporate your wife in the same ministry. Ndio mnapigwa picha pamoja pale. It's not right. Get a logo for the church. Let's identify, because it's not your ministry. Church is not your ministry. Church is a ministry of God. It's not your ministry. So you cannot impose, say, this one I'm putting you here as this. Let's cast lots, isn't it? Hey, let's have disciples.
According to me,
yes.
The wife being there is taking the position of helper. And
helper in the house.
It's good that you've mentioned Paul. Because with Paul we had Priscilla and Aquila. You remember? The tent makers, the couple. Yes?
Yes.
And they learned from Paul. And after that they took the message to the far corners of the world. After getting it from Paul. So, kuna mtu ambaye atapata call, right? Kama Yesu, ya kuwa Yesu. Lakini Yesu aliwafundisha wale disciples wake waje watufundishe. Right? Now that's what I'm saying. The pastor gets a call. Now after amepata call, ako na msaidizi wake pale. Anakaa naye 24/7.
He delegates.
Anamfundisha.
Your
Yes.
wife is not wife is not part of the ministry. The ministry, of course, your wife is your son.
but
Your
if-
wife is
if-
you. You see the
But
problem.
what I'm not trying to understand, what I'm not understanding from this, George, if someone else can be part of the ministry, why not your wife?
Your
Yes.
wife is your.
Kama kuna wazee wa
Bible-
kanisa,
you
mbona
see,
bibi yako asiwe mmoja?
your wife,
Yes.
your wife is you. Okay, there is no difference between your wife and you.
Okay, yes.
There is a difference.
No, there is no
There
difference.
is a difference.
Are you
Where is
saying-
the difference?
Are you
You are
saying-
two different
are you-
people.
What he's saying to say
How can you
is,
be your wife? You cannot be your
I
wife.
think he's saying.
No, what I'm saying,
I-
Bible
let-
says
let
that
me- let me-
Bible says that your wife
Eh.
is your lips.
Yes.
Your wife
But she's independent.
is your flesh. No, she's not independent. So that she's not now coming as another party. And that is where I'm saying we are going wrong.
But she doesn't come
When
as
you
another
say-
party. She comes, ni kusema unajua Sadojes, you are separating this thing. Like
You know, you're
unasahau.
forgetting I'm a member of a church. And I know what I'm talking about.
When you're saying,
And
when
you are
you're
also forgetting you are also
when you're
members
saying-
of church.
I
when
am
you're
a member
saying-
of a church.
when you're saying-
And most of the commotions we are finding in the church today
Yes.
are caused by the wife and the husband. Because there are two visions, there are two people, they are coming at two people. So that the wife moves, pulled on one direction and the husband pulls on the other direction. You understand
I
that?
don't think so.
Wait
I
first,
don't-
you understand
I don't
that
think so.
women
Huh?
are very emotional. They are very emotional. If, for example, a wife of a pastor has a beef with me, I will have to leave the church. And that is what is happening. Sis, I don't want to see that guy in that pulpit.
When you say there is no difference between my wife and I, what is wrong if I say that my wife being part of me, she's also capable of doing what I'm able to do?
If there's no difference.
What is wrong with delegating somebody that has no difference between?
I
them?
have-
No, even if you're one, like this and this.
Yes.
It is okay
What
to
makes
say
it now
that when
hard?
you receive the calling,
What makes
she
it
also
hard
receive
for
the
her
calling if you are one,
to do what
and
I'm
part of
doing?
your calling bus.
I haven't said that you and your wife cannot. Your wife can preach.
Yes.
Your wife can do
As a
everything
helper.
because it's your helper.
Yes.
Yes.
It's you actually.
Exactly.
It's you.
It is me.
It's you.
So
But
after your calling, brother, pata pamoja.
But you are not getting
So
what I'm
she-
saying.
she's partaking of what I get.
Maybe I'm not good in communication. What
Yes.
I'm trying to say,
Yes.
if I can clear the air now,
Yes, withdraw.
I'm saying this.
Withdraw that statement.
What I'm saying is this.
Eh.
Number one, the ministries should not be rotating around a wife and a husband. So that on the billboards, what we are seeing is the logo in the name of the head of the wife and the head of the husband. That is number one. Okay? Number two, I am saying that the vision of the church is carried by the pastor, whether he's a woman or a man. So you see, like, for example, if you look at Meru County, for example,
Yes.
the governor
Yes.
came in and brought in the husband, and they are pulling on different direction. That is why there is a lot of fighting in the Meru County. People are being killed because the two have different visions. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is, when a pastor comes in, the wife should be under him because it's part of him. And let's see a ministry. Let's not the individual. Let's not everything rotate around them. That is the problem we are having.
Is it still your stand that there is no difference between a man and the wife?
There is no difference. It's
There is no
supposed to be
difference?
one. Yes.
Are you not saying that being no difference between a wife and a man, there are some things that they can do together?
They don't do together.
Yes.
They do as one.
Are you believing that? Are you believing that if you see my photo and that of my wife together, it is still me you are seeing? Now that there is no difference between me
I'm
and you
saying
and her?
my problem is not
Yes.
even the wife and the husband.
Yes.
I'm saying my problem is the logo of the church.
The law.
Where the logo of the church is
Yes.
the head of the pastor. So we are actually magnifying the pastor. We are creating a cult. See, for example, TB Joshua, for example.
Yes.
That was a cult. Everything was rotating around him. When he died, the ministry is dead. You understand? We are
But
supposed
the ministry
to...
is not dead.
It's dead.
No.
It's dead.
No.
They
Because
have
the wife
clo-
was here.
They have wait first. They have closed the channels in the DSTV, for example.
That was not them.
No.
That was because of the BBC. Sir Georges,
No, that is not the case. They were unable to.
I want to bring it to your attention that the wife of TB Joshua is currently running that church effectively, and she has disciples from TB Joshua. She came to Kenya, by the way, 2 months ago. She was welcomed in Kenya, and she did.
I wish it was. I wish TB Joshua came to Kenya 2 months ago. You would have seen how the people will be in the country. You understand? So what I'm trying to say is that the ministry is only about to be buried. It's dead. It's just only that it has not been buried. What I'm trying to say is we have a problem in that we are creating cults.
Yes.
In the name of ministries.
Yes.
Did you come or you are getting
Yes,
me?
I'm getting you.
Because, for example, when you look at the mainstream churches, they were started far away and they are still running big. They are creating schools, they are creating hospitals, they are doing all manner of things, isn't it?
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is we are having a problem.
Yes.
In that we are creating cults in the name of churches. They are cults. Everything rotates around the pastor and the wife. No disciples. When you go to parliament, you are going man solo with a lawyer. Doesn't make sense.
Correct.
Yes.
Unasikia mtizamo wa Sir Georges? Mtizamo mkali sana.
I like his views, but again, my view is we don't need to really
Read too much.
try to drag all the pastors into what he thinks some pastors are doing and are not right. Back to the topic, Ezekiel now that is has done well, in as much as there are so many other pastors that are not doing the right thing. We cannot throw the baby with the bathwater. Ezekiel, having his own weaknesses, he also have a lot of strength. He has done so many big things, he has done good things, and we really need to appreciate him for what he's doing. And that does not mean that some other pastors are also the same way doing the right thing the way Ezekiel is doing. You get that? So, Ezekiel himself has not tried to bring the issue of his wife into the ministry. And that is why he tries by all means to show the people that he is not by any chance fighting for anybody in his family. He's doing it for the sake of the congregants, he's doing it for the sake of those who are fellowshipping with him, and he believes that it is through the hard work of his children and the family that will enable them to achieve their goals, and not through the work that he's doing in the ministry. And that is my view.
Sir Georges. Mtizamo wako. Uwa mwisho.
Pastors need to rethink. They need to make this great kingdom of God greater. They need to get out of the way because they are blocking the way. They need to start seeing things the way they are supposed to be. And things are supposed to looked at in terms of bringing in disciples to the kingdom and sustaining the kingdom and enabling the congregants, the members of your church, giving them an opportunity to thrive. And this is through having good schools.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a thrilling show, thrilling discussion, and those were the views of Sir Georges and Craig. But at home, what do you think? What is the way forward when it comes to pastors and churches? What Ezekiel said. Our producer is going to play you the clip and get there on the comment section and make sure you tell us what are your opinions. Next time we're going to be here again and then even delve even more deeper into this. tutoke kwa Ezekiel. Tuparuke kwa makanisa zingine, si ndio?
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much. This was Kati Kati Show. I am LTZ, Mr. Viedebe, and
I am Jojo Chieng, aka The Crane. I'm happy to be here today.
Sir Georges.
Himself, Sir Georges. Thank you, and until next time, bye bye.
Bye-bye.